We've got the management of Bajaj Electricals, Mr. Anuj Poddar, who's the executive director, now joining in to talk about the hurdles due to coronavirus, largely on account of the dependency on China. What are the other alternative sourcing methods, as well as the outlook? Thanks so much for joining in, Anuj. To begin with, tell us a little bit about the impact purely on the industry as well as on Bajaj Electricals in terms of the percentage of your components that are imported from China at present.
Thank you and good morning to you and to all the viewers. Just quickly, I want to first share the fact that, of course, it is a serious problem. China is a significant part of the global economy and the global supply chain. The good news for us as a company is that more than 80% of our sourcing across all our product categories in the consumer space come from within India. So it's less than 20%, somewhere close to 15% that we source from China as far as our finished goods is concerned. But the challenge really for us and for all of industry is that even for all the finished goods or products that are manufactured in India, a lot of the components or raw materials trace themselves back to China in one way or the other. And that's where the challenge really starts building up. And so I think the first level of analysis for everybody was that it's only going to be, things that you import from China in terms of finished goods that are going to be impacted. But slowly, as you go back through the supply chain, you keep finding some interlinkages, and that's where the challenge really lies.
You said 80% is outsourced, 20% is not. That 20% which you need, how critical is that for the ultimate supply chain? I mean, a nut which is outsourced out from China could be a crucial nut because without which the fan will not work. So what I'm trying to understand from you is that, forget the percentage, are there some key components which you are not able to outsource because of coronavirus and it could help your supply line?
Yeah, so just let me correct the words there. 80% is domestic, not about outsource or not, but we're talking domestic versus China, and less than 20% is China. But your question is spot on. There are, even if in value terms it's very low, that doesn't matter, because even a very low value single product, it holds up the entire product. Let me give you examples. Most fans in India are made in India, but most fans have bearings in them that trace their way into China. Most electronic appliances of any nature always have some electronic components that come from China. If you look at the entire lighting industry in LED, almost it is entirely assembled or produced in India. But most LED products have electrical or electronic components that come from China. Similarly, if you look at other appliances or coolers, etc., there are magnets that come from China. So individual value of these items is low, but they are critical items in the full finished products, and you cannot do without them. We are looking at local sourcing even for some of these products, but not all of these products, or not to the quantum or capacities required, are available in India. So that's where the challenge is.
Okay, fair enough. So just to get a better sense, in terms of your current component stock, how long do you think you can, manage it? Till when could you say you're protected? I'm talking about, of course, what is dependent from China.
Right. So the big picture is we're fairly okay. I mean, while it varies by specific products, but till second half of March or third or fourth week of March across different products, we're okay. So I think the impact on this quarter will be very limited at best over the last 10 to 15 days. In some very select products that we may have some impact of stockouts. We are also starting to see production of factories in China start activities over the last, we are obviously in touch with them every single day. Over the last 10 days, we've been getting different news from each of our vendors and suppliers there about the activity starting. But again, for them, while they say the activities or the factories have commenced production, it is, the workforce that is available for them at the shop floor ranges anywhere from a high of 50% to as low as 20%. So they're clearly not running at full capacity. The second challenge is, even if the factories are producing, they in turn, the China factories, rely on other sub-vendors or component suppliers to themselves. So that entire chain has to kick into place. And the third aspect there really is the whole logistics aspect. Even if the manufacturing happens, the transport, the logistics, the shipping lines, all of those are also under capacity right now in terms of supply. And therefore, that entire chain has to fall back in place for it to come into play. I think Q1 in general across industry will be impacted. The magnitude of the impact is too early to try and quantify. I am yet hopeful. We are only sitting in the third or fourth week of Feb right now. Hopefully by second half of March, you should see a significant step up in terms of activities in China, and that should all start gradually getting the supplies back on track. As we speak, even the restrictions within China are being lifted piece by piece. The markets are opening up. Markets that were completely shut are being, the governments have allowed them to start opening up 2 or 3 hours a day. The internal transport or commute restrictions that were there, the government is starting to relax that in China and certain provinces. So I think there is a recognition in the government that they also have to bring things back on track as fast as possible. I am hopeful that by mid of March you will see substantial improvements. But yes, there will be impact in Q1. The magnitude remains to be seen.
Is the industry or your company specifically looking to resort to price hikes? Are you worried that this could hurt demand further, or in turn, mitigate the impact on margins?
Absolutely. So I think price hikes are completely inevitable for 2 reasons. One is a supply situation. It is causing a direct challenge for us in the cost structures and supply. And although while we're looking at alternative supply sources or even the current supply sources, the pricing of that is being challenged and raising our costs. So therefore, we are looking at price hikes. Secondly, what's come in terms of bad timing for us is the hike in customs duty in the last budget. Customs duties have increased by anywhere between 10 to 12.5% across the range of items. So that has also got an inflationary price impact for us. Both of these cumulatively are far beyond the margins that we can afford to absorb a hit on. And therefore, there is already price hikes that have come into play over the last couple of weeks, and some more will kick in March itself.
Inevitable, some of them have kicked in and there will be more into play. But thanks very much, Anuj, for giving us a clearer picture as to what exactly the situation on coronavirus implies for your company. So less than 20% dependency in terms of components imported from China directly.